Talk about anything about money without starting off with Adam Smith.
Money, mindset.
We're going to talk about Adam Smith, so you can't talk about anything about money without starting off with Adam Smith. Adam Smith's the grandfather of all economics. So he first wrote about the wealth in his book called The Wealth of Nations. It's essentially what our modern capitalist system is built around Adam Smith and his kind of ideas and his concepts. So the three things that Adam Smith talks about in his Wealth of Nations is demand and supply, division of labour, and the invisible hand. Adam Smith, demand and supply. So I used to trade gas, and gas is very derived by demand and supply. So the price is set depending on how many people want that product and the supply of that product, how much product is available in the market. So think of like gas supply. So in winter months, it's much more people demand that the product that is gas. Okay, more people. It's much colder, so people turn their heating on, and then that demand. Everyone in the UK does that, so the demand goes up. The supply is often fixed because there's only a fixed amount of gas that can be produced every year. So the winter months, things tend to get more expensive in the gas market because there's a high demand and the same amount of supply. So Adam Smith talked about in this capitalist system that basically everything's arrived. The market dictates what the price is of that thing, and that price is derived by demand and supply. The next thing he talks about is division of labour. So he talks about there's a pin factory that he talks about in Edinburgh, and he basically said that one person, it would take, say, it's much more efficient for have a team of people working together to produce, each has a specialist task, rather than one person doing every little bit of task, because that one person might have to go pick up different types of tools, they might have to go to the other side of the workshop to create this little pin, whereas if you had like a conveyor belt, that each person has hammering or one person soldering, the other person kind of putting things together, it's much more efficient. I think it's like 50 pins can be created compared to one pin if one person does it. So it's doing this kind of division of labour increases productivity much more. And we see it today where everyone has their kind of niche kind of market, specialist kind of jobs that people do, and it makes it much more efficient. And he says to people, because it's more efficient, people do it for their own self-interest, so people get paid better because they can specialise their market, they can specialise their individual things that they can do. The third thing is what he calls the invisible hand. So invisible hand is basically things get moved around. The economy gets moved by what he calls the invisible hand. So like a business cycle, so the ups and downs of the market happens because of the invisible hand. So he says the butcher, the baker, it's not because of they're not doing it because they want to, they're doing it because of their own selfish needs. Because they want certain things, and they're going to buy that thing, that becomes popular, and then more people want to buy that thing, and then it's kind of like a positive feedback loop where more and more popular things get produced, and the things that aren't popular, basically products that aren't popular or selling well, they basically die, or the companies go bust. So this is the invisible hand that kind of controls the market. So this is what he talks about in The Wealth of Nations. What a lot of people miss is his first book he wrote is The Moral Sentiment, and essentially what it's all about, it's about happiness and saying that humans get their pleasure from seeing other people being happy. And it's kind of a stark contrast with The Wealth of Nations, which it seems to be quite kind of a capitalist system, seems to be quite cold with a capitalist system, where actually, if he looks at it, it's actually humans get their pleasure from helping other people and their happiness from other people. So it's real kind of almost, people forget about this in the capitalist system, where we as humans get our pleasure or happiness from helping other people. So it's not necessarily all about the stark kind of think of Dick in the times of Dickens when he was writing, where it was kind of these kind of harsh, bleak factories. It's not always about that. It is actually about people's happiness, and essentially what are we creating all these products for? It's to produce a need or produce a want that will ultimately make people happy. So just to summarise, Adam Smith, he talks about three things: demand, supply, the division of labour, and specialisation of skills. And he also talks about the invisible hand. And fourthly, that in his book, book Moral Sentiments, he talked about people getting, or humans getting their happiness from helping other people.
Money. Mindset.